I'm Skye. This is JJ. We are talking all things raw, the unspoken benefits of raw foods today. I'm really excited to get into this. Welcome, JJ.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you. Thank you for having me on. As always, I really enjoy our conversations, and I love raw food.
Yes, and I love this topic because let me start out if you don't know us. My name's Skye. I was sick for 32 years. I started eating raw foods and healed like I reckon 50 things. I was up within 6 weeks. I've had over 60 surgeries, 7 major organs removed. I was chronically ill, and then I ate raw foods and everything healed. So, do you want to say a little bit about you before we get into this?
Yes, I am JJ, or known online as Veganology JJ, and I wrote the book How I Went From Sad to Glad, my simple 4-step blueprint to transform your health, weight, and mindset to finally reach your goals with joy and ease. And the reason I wrote that book is in 2019, I also, like Skye, adopted a raw food diet coming from the standard American fruits, veggies, nuts, and seeds. I reversed my seasonal allergies or eliminated them, lost 55 pounds and have kept it off. And I also eliminated chronic back pain that I had for 18 years. So that kind of tells you why we're so passionate about this lifestyle.
I was just thinking that. I was thinking when there's like magic, it feels like magic. Like you always, I have this goal of like, for me, it was always chronic pain I wanted to get rid of. I was always in so much pain. And then I had psychiatric problems, and you're isolating and thinking, I just want to fix one thing. And then there's this diet, which everything changes your whole life. You get a whole life.
Yes. That's exactly right. And that's why I think we wanted to, our mission, I know both of us, is to really help others. I've been on a mission for that since I found this. It was like I found a miracle. In fact, when Skye interviewed on my show, remember I called it a raw miracle because of all those things, 50 things. But then there's like she said, it was we reversed these like things physical. All I want to do is lose weight. The other things were a bonus, but then there's all these things that happen, like that we're going to talk about on this show, that people mention, but no one ever like quantifies, like you said, or has these things noted, because it's like we just kind of put them in along with, oh yeah, we got this as a bonus, like the clarity and different things like that.
I think the biggest thing I want to get into is when you see reels or advertisements about doing a diet to get a result. I think all of them sit on the same level except raw foods. So people are like, oh, you can do carnivore, or you can do whole food plant-based, or you can do Atkins. There's a whole lot of different ways that people use foods to heal. But I've tried many of them, paleo, but when you actually eat raw foods, it was like the whole universe switched on. Um, it was like amazing. It was like the whole universe started talking, and that led me to know this was something different. And you can call it God or source or spiritual awakening, but if anyone out there has done a high amount of raw foods or fruits or juices, you will know what I'm talking about. Yet this is really hard to get across to people and motivate people, because it's the reason I stay raw. I'm sure there's other ways out there which could have switched off symptoms, right? Switched them off. We're talking about my whole soul transforming and my thoughts feeling lighter, more enlightened. But there's this like, still I get up every day and I'm blown away at the colors. They like talk, everything becomes alive.
It really does. It's like not even things that are quote unquote physical. Like when I'm raw, I'm more creative. That's something I hear a lot of us say too. Like not only creative, but you feel energy, which I know other diets can give you a little bit of energy, but there's like another level of energy. There's another level of clarity, and like I feel compassion. Like I just really can connect with other people. I've said this before, even though I'm eating totally different than everybody else, as a human on human, I can kind of really like seem to connect with their soul a little bit better too, and understand and be compassionate. And you are so great with reminding us about nature. And I see Marakita is here too. She's always into that realm of getting out into nature, and like it really does bring that into focus. Like you feel connected with everything. It's almost like hard to do this live stream because it's hard to explain it, right? Like it's just inside you.
Yeah, well, look, I'll give you an example. It's winter here in Australia, so I become more disconnected from nature. I'm still having raw foods, but I'm indoors more. I'm not as active because it's colder. Plus, we just had a cyclone. Yesterday, I took myself down to the river, which is colder than the ocean because you get river water going, rainwater going straight in there. And I went under, I did some dunking and went under for as long as I could a few times. I swear to God, I get out raw fit, and I put it on my story last night. I didn't even remember that we were doing this talk today, but
Oh, nice.
and my whole body, it's like you can feel it vibrating. You can feel the energy through your body. I have never experienced that with any way of eating in any time in my life. I remember that's just one example. I feel like as soon as you connect raw foods and nature, everything's amazing. So when I first got well, I was living in like this really small apartment. It was my first apartment ever. I was renting. And I remember getting up, and being able to get up is amazing, right? And the sunlight shining through these Venetian blinds, like it would hit the Venetian blinds. I grabbed my camera, took a photo. I have to go have a look through it and see if I can find it because the light looks so magical. Now, this isn't like a dissociation because I've had psychiatric issues. I've never actually taken photos of sunlight before. This is probably like 3 weeks in, so I'm not crazy. I'm like seeing the sun looking so beautiful, shining through the blinds, that I took photos. I took photos on different angles, and I just stood there like in amazement, like as in just inhaling the beauty of it. And I never, ever could do that in my whole life, even before I got sick. I assume probably as a kid, there were elements of this, like that we had, like that amazement as we're like growing up and learning. But truly, like to be blown away by light going through it, like a kind of dingy apartment and funny Venetian blinds. And then like maybe I'm more used to it now, but still every day I cannot believe when you eat raw foods, the magic of the universe. You feel good, the universe feels good, you interpret relationships better. There's so many benefits to not only healing with it, but staying on this lifestyle.
I totally agree, and I know we've talked about kind of the why behind it, or our assumptions of this, and you've talked about the electromagnetic type of activity that is in these foods. Like they're being cooked first by the sun, which is ripening them, and then we're eating them without changing or altering any of the chemistry of the food. We're not eating anything that has lived and been died, and it's like even the food itself, it excites me like that. Like I think you have to go into this diet and really allow yourself to feel that, because I wake up like a little kid excited. Like I go to the you know we were heading to my stepfather's birthday party this weekend, and we had to travel like 3 hours. I see a fruit stand on the side of the road about like, and I'm like, a fruit stand. And I like, oh, look at all this stuff. And I'm turning in like you would see a kid pulling into an amusement park, like they had cantaloupes, and I saw cherries and peaches. I could see the peaches from the road. So that's what drew me in. And it's like, it felt like my body was being like forcibly like, pulled to these foods, knowing how good they make you feel. So, and it's like the local fruit stands. It's always like, I would imagine picking it right out of nature would be amazing, but I don't live in the tropical environment to be able to have my own, trees, but it's kind of the closest thing. And it's so interesting. Like once you feel this connection, it's like, people are like, how do you go without cooked food? And I'm like, I don't, it's odd. At first you do want the things that you grew up with, but really after a certain amount of time, my body is craving that fresh food, and I want that food. So it's not like I'm in a constant struggle. Like I talk about in the book, I'm leaning into what I know serves me. And when you can get to a point that you do that and you feel this, it's a connection above what you feel in your body. Of course, all your aches and pains tend to go away for most of us that start this, but there's something in our mind that happens, that clicks, that makes us feel even more connected with ourselves.
Yeah, and there's just, for me, it was the missing piece. As in, it was the piece I was looking for something most of my life, what I didn't know. And once I connected into this, it was that missing piece which made me not need things anymore. Like needing cooked food goes into that bracket of well, not needing, wanting, really, isn't it? Wanting cooked food, or wanting this designer bag, or wanting like things which, when you're full already, you don't want anything. You're happy to just wake up. You're happy to be given cantaloupe. You're happy to feel the sunshine on your face and the wind in your hair. All those things which you see, like, I don't know, they're things that have always been there, but I couldn't tap into. Like, I feel like as soon as I ate raw food, I could not only have my health, but I had this self-love. It like the food literally taught me to love myself. And I think there's a difference in saying, like, you don't eat to feel love. Like, that's not what it is. But once you connect to something which is, it's been birthed out in nature, straight from source. Like, the other thing that was really apparent when I went raw is you can feel vibrations so loudly, like you feel good energy. So you're drawn to babies and animals more so. It's really loud. Flowers like literally bloom in your face. But the one that was the loudest, and it still is the loudest to me, like what talks the loudest, is the sun and the sky. And my name's Skye, so I love it.
Your name is Skye. That's perfect.
Yeah, like if I was to say where source is, I would say the sun. And then I always notice at night, like I'm so drawn to the whole sky. And then secondary to that, what is coming off of that? What is that? How do we get more of that tangibly into us? And that is the flowers, the nuts and seeds, the fruits, the vegetables, because it's like a direct creation from it. And so it makes sense that if we don't destroy what nature has made, we must interpret somehow and become that. Like, you can call it downloads, right? I like to say that we're a computer system, and the sun, or the electricity our body gets is the sun. But depending on what you put in is how we activate. So if you put in like software and apps, which is like fruit and vegetables, and then you have the sun. Can you just hang on a second? 1 second. Dad, it's outside. Sorry.
That's okay. I love it. I love that we can do this from home so that those things can be taken care of at the same time.
Right. So
makes them know we're not robots.
That's right. It's real. We're not an AI. Okay, so the like fruit and vegetables are just like software and apps, right? That a computer system would have put in, and that's what we choose to put in ourselves. You don't want to put donuts in McDonald's, which is just like, to me, viruses, right? That you corrupt the system. And then once you put that in, you need to plug a computer in, and plugging it in is by going out the sun. So you kind of activate your apps and software, which essentially is the fruits and vegetables. And you want it like the best, and then you become that. So I think this makes me so happy talking about this.
It really does. I think that's why you were saying something earlier about also another thing, and I learned this like intuitively later on, but when we were talking about kind of wanting to be at one with nature and be consistent with that, I think that's why fruit puts us on like such a high vibration, even if we have other things in our, diet, like, leafy greens and things like that. I noticed that fruit, because it's kind of the thing that is given to us by the tree that is meant to like reproduce the seeds, always even elevates us a level higher. At least for me, it does. It definitely is like the main thing that really escalates that clarity and things like that for me. Like if I have that for lunch, I'm feeling so good.
Yes, I agree. Well, think about fruit. Okay, so fruit, the flesh is made to give nutrients and protect a seed, which is going to spread further and attract animals and humans. Well, humans are animals, right? So we eat it, and then that seed is not digestible. So we go to the bathroom on the ground, is how it would have been, and then the plant grows. So it's like we're part of a purpose, like a cycle. So it makes sense that feels the best. I know this isn't like the topic, but I feel like if we lived in the Garden of Eden or in the tropics, and I've done it, like whenever I'm somewhere tropical, this is totally doable. But when we as a society have disconnected and our bodies have become more broken, is like other animals, we eat things which we wouldn't necessarily eat, but you're going to do better the closer you are to the fruit. So obviously, if it's not the fruit, there's like seeds or vegetables or leafy greens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every away from fruit is going to be a step back. But I was talking about this yesterday, is the planet is in such a denser reality. We're not vibrating high enough to be the Garden of Eden, right? So people on the planet will eat according to the density, because we're like a whole consciousness. We're not like, people may think we are individuals completely cut off from one another, but
Mm-hmm.
we're all together. So the planet being denser can pull some people right down, and then others who are trying to have fruit will feel a pull still. It's kind of like, you know, you want to sit at the right density. If you go too light, you see people not do so well. If you go too dense, people don't do so well. So there's always like that curve of where to sit. You want to be on that higher feeling good, but we want to match the planet. Otherwise we won't do as well. But I've kind of gone off there. So
Oh no, I love it. I love sometimes we do that on the tangent, right? But we always just have a bouncing point, a starting point when it comes to raw food on these, and then we take it where it needs to go, right?
yeah, that's right. I mean, even like, so Victoria said here, and thank you, we're seeing all like your comments and stuff come up. So she said, hey Skye, you were great on Gillian Berry. Love Gillian. She's my best friend. But even connecting to someone like Gillian or yourself, or, you know, Gillian's channel or my channel or your channel, all come from raw foods. So it blows my mind that it's not something where I get up each day and I'm like, you know, I took a medication or I did a diet and it fixed my hip. Like, it literally has catapulted my entire life, your entire life. You wrote a book.
Yeah.
Other people's lives, and we're all connected by this. And I don't necessarily think this journey is easy. I do think being a raw vegan is a bit of a hero's journey, because every decision you make is not part of the herd, right? Is, you know, people get up, we're about to go on a holiday with my family, so they will get up, probably have like bacon and eggs or something at a cafe each morning with, you know, coffee, and then I will get up, have fruit, and go for a run. And I have to make that decision every day to not be like everybody else. Even if I go, usually I have a juice and kind of then I'm off. We have to be different, but there is a value in a strength of looking after yourself. Like, it drives me and my decisions and makes me stronger in everything I do. So there's like a value. It's not necessarily a bad thing, because a lot of people think that being different is I'm missing out. I can't do it because of my family. I can't do it because I go out for dinner, for work. But every time you say no, and every time you look after you more, watch the universe, maybe not instantly, start looking after you and getting a confidence in yourself over time.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, you were mentioning something about our, like, we're so kind of clouded, like, by that. We have a crowd mindset. We've grown up that way. So it is different, but instead of looking at it, like you said, of being different, maybe looking at it like I'm, you know, paying attention to what I know that I need to put in my body, because the only one that's suffering with those conditions that we had, or that's not going to be experiencing this level of clarity and this good feeling overall, and that's going to be us, that is sitting there when you're alone. That's you feeling it. So even though you might feel pressured, think of yourself like a rebel, right? Like, you know, I'm taking my own way, I'm doing, but we can still connect with those people, you know, and we can still connect with our families, and we might overflow in that joy to get some people on board, but it's not really what the main purpose is, telling our story. Eventually, if they can come into that, that's perfect, but it really is about taking care of you, and that's the best way that I can think of it. Like, someone made this example the other day, like, even if you're on an airplane, and, you know, and they tell you to get the oxygen mask first, and so you can take care of other people. Like, I almost feel like that we have to do this, if this is what our calling is, and we are now in touch with what I believe is our natural species specific diet. So we're starting to really not have to struggle as much, because we're understanding our true, you know, hunger, and what we're going for is this raw food after a while of being on it, like, you know, you and me have for a while. It's not as, like, if someone's starting out, I would say you'll start to really crave it, and you'll start to be excited about it. So it's not going to be like that forever, and then you'll be confident, And I think that matters when you're talking with family and friends too. If you're wavering back and forth, well, maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll have this with you, or you don't seem confident in it, they're likely to try to pull you in that direction. But now probably your family knows, oh, that's Skye, she's going to have her fruit and go for a run. Like
Yeah.
after a while, they know who it is. And that's, JJ, she's in there making her salads while we're all in here doing this, but she'll be in, along. So it's like, it really becomes something that can make you feel good to do something for yourself and to not be, not wavered by what other people are doing, and allow them to have their own path and their own journey.
Yeah. It's like, I always think also, like, get to that level as well where you're not just surviving, but what is the purpose? Like, what do you feel your purpose is to be here? Because before I had raw foods, it was to just get through a day, even before I think I was sick, because there's times where I wasn't always sick and I couldn't live it so much in my purpose. It was literally to get through a day. And I think many people are just getting through their day. But imagine you could eat a certain way and live a certain way, and all of a sudden you're not only your health problems leave, but you have all this like space in your brain to create, to love, to find yourself, to be who you're meant to be. But with that, obviously there's a lot of letting go. There's also, you don't want to sit in a space of isolation. You want to know why you're doing it, and that doesn't necessarily, that can change. At the start, I actually think part of when I got well, it wasn't just, I think I was too far gone sick-wise to comprehend that I'm eating this way to fix myself.
Yeah.
It was literally feel good. It was like, this just makes me feel so much better and I can get up. All the things that went really quickly, like the POTS, all the mast cell, my liver healed, my anemia healed. I stopped going to hospital. The fatigue was huge for me. That's probably the only thing that motivated me and directed me to do what I did. But that really coincides with just how sluggish a body and consciousness is. Once you start to become awakened, you just follow that and you follow the feel good. And that's as well how I navigate eating, because a lot of people are like, have you read this? And do you eat this way? Have you read this? Have you eat this way? I'm like, no, I actually have to do what my body needs. It's part of me not listening to my body for the last 40 years. Like, if I went and did something by a book, I would be doing what I did before. That's another thing, is I don't think people should come into a lifestyle like this and think there's a blueprint for everybody. I really think it's about finding out who you are. And then in finding out who you are, you sit in your true purpose. And I really like my raw website that I created, which has recipes on it. It has help with like going out for dinner and how I order and stuff, and like my ebooks and all of that. I started that and created that just 2 months after getting well. 3 months, maybe 3 months, give it about 3 months. So like really quickly, my entire life didn't just become about sickness or even thinking about it. I just sat in this like beautiful space and purpose. And all the things we're talking about are really hard selling points. Like when I get up and like want to be like, eat raw food because you feel enlightened, people are like, what? Like it's hard. It's really hard to like get to understand like it will fix disease, but the main reason I'm raw is because I'm me. Like it's the only time I feel like I'm the real me.
Yes, I totally agree. 1 second.
You're right. I see Colleen says here she's about to start her raw food journey. Hi, Dawn. That's so exciting. Like it really is. So good luck with that. And I'm sure it's like, and look, I always say if people are coming from something quite dense, you don't have to just rush in. You can like do whole food, plant-based, ease your way in. But when I started, the difference, like I've said this before, I would eat raw foods and get up and start doing things. And then I would cook some food, just like either steamed or dry roasted, just some veggies. And I couldn't get up for days. And I knew there was something magical about it. So here's another question. How can you eat wheat raw? Is that possible? No, it's not possible. And you will find the denser and more irritating things. Like I love sprouts, but I'll soak lentils and eat them as well because I love them. But they are more irritating than, say, an apple, right? Wheat is going to be real irritating. I know actually, Dan, when I met him in Hawaii, he was saying that when he first went raw, didn't know that you weren't supposed to eat wheat and was literally like blending water and wheat and eating it. Dan McDonald. And I was like, whoa. So it's definitely a journey, but now there's more people online. I don't think they do things like that. I don't know how his gut put up with that. That would have been intense. But there are things like I do a 3-ingredient bread, and that bread has, what has it got in it? There's buckwheat. You can do buckwheat. I did in this bread is buckwheat, chia, and flax, and you just blend it up with some water, dehydrate it for 4 hours, and it makes a flatbread. If you do it for 7 hours, you get little dinner rolls. So it's all about replacement. Yeah, look into that. If you want it or have a craving when you're going raw, my best suggestion is go to Google. If you're following people and you've seen a recipe, sure. But if not, go to Google, go to ChatGTP and be like, I'm feeling like I want to eat some wheat or some bread. What are some raw vegan recipes or recipe creators which make recipes that way? Or how would I make something that is raw, that's bread-like? It's a whole process of shifting across, like shifting that. You want a pizza. How do I make that raw? I want sushi. How do I make that raw? So I hope that helps. I hope that answered that question.
I love that too. Sorry about that, Skye. I had a little technical difficulty there. I was going to say too, I noticed I've had to do that in so many ways. Instead of shifting back, I think we had a live about this once of cooked, back to cooked food. Sometimes we have to just rearrange how we handle our raw food diet. Like I remember not being able to gain weight. And then I realized I wasn't eating enough fruit and fats like avocados and things. I was eating all like green vegetables. So sometimes I think people leave raw food thinking there's something wrong with it, but whereas now I'm so convinced that it's the natural diet, it's the healing diet that heals me, and I don't feel good on other food, that it really kind of makes me figure out a way to work it into my life instead of figuring out why it doesn't work, which I think we have to be careful of when we first start, is because it's new, it's something different, and you're like, oh, maybe this isn't working because this, and really it's working. You might just have to adjust the way your body adjusts to the raw diet, how much food to eat, get your true hunger signals in. So I really enjoy your channel. For one of the reasons is because it's so helpful to people who are new, who are still trying to, imitate the taste of the food and thinking that this is going to be like a boring diet. And you're seeing so many ways that you can do it, so many tips to help people when they go out, but also at home, things they can cook when it's time for that event. Maybe you're having the family and you don't want to just give them salads, but you want to stay within your realm of not cooking any dairy or meat. You can cook one of these recipes. So I love that, and I love your book.
Oh, thank you. So I think what's really important is, even if you want to eat what some might call a really simple and clean raw diet, is what you're up against is a lifetime of memories that are connected to food. And I say this, so just say every Sunday you used to have pizza and a movie, and you most times growing up, and that is not just the pizza memory. There's this nostalgia of a whole lot the brain is composed into that memory. So even like Sundays is a more relaxing day, right? So that's sitting in that food memory. By the end of that day, you're feeling more dopamine and feeling a lot better because of being more relaxed and having your Sunday off. And then to celebrate that you've had time, and that is in that memory as well, you're going to have pizza. So the memories we hold of food composed not just of the actual mouthful, but these memories. Like, it might even be, you remember sitting up on the balcony of your home and the Sunday wind blowing, but it's also blowing against a person who is more relaxed. They've had 2 days off work. They're probably with loved ones. That's the memory you're up against. So people are going to go back. You're 100% going to go back. Not if you're 5 or 6 years in, probably not, but there's still probably times you want to experience that again. So that your body is not just obviously sending you, I want pizza, you're bad because you want pizza. It's sending you, relaxation, memories of a Sunday afternoon, memories with loved ones, and the connections that are lighting up has sent you that you need pizza. And why not have raw pizza? Eat clean whenever you want, but when it's Sunday afternoon, this is why when I coach people, I always say, don't stop doing what your reward system already knows, because you'll set yourself up for failure. Because that you can't beat that. Like that is making me want to live that memory. And imagine doing that for years.
Yes. And you're finding new memories with these fruits too. Now over 6 years, I've got like, oh, that's right. We had watermelon at the beach. That's actually, it's amazing.
Yes. And we talk about this, that you're not up against the food, you're up against yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think when you understand that and know that you'll be feeling like clear and good and enlightened, but also don't push yourself, because as you can hear, it's never really truly all about the food. It's more about an experience. And that's why I think recreating those experiences can be helpful. So I was just going to bring this up. This is talking about the wheat. So Don says he has watermelon for breakfast, iced tea with some watermelon added, and he has whole wheat pasta and tomato basil sauce for lunch and dinner. And look, if that works for you, that's great. Everyone should do what they want to do. And as for oats, I actually have raw oats. I never feel as great when I eat them. Like, truly, the best, like you were saying, the best you feel is when you're having fruit on the beach. Like, I can't knock that. Can I be at a beach eating fruit all day? No. But we have gold. That's where I'm at, guys. I'm just on the beach eating fruit. But whatever suits our lifestyle, as long as we feel good. You don't want to be having a meal and afterwards you're feeling terrible and compensating by needing to, not feel good. That's the biggest indicator. You want to feel good thinking about it, eating it, and then afterwards is big. Like for days afterwards, you don't want to be feeling like crap. If you do, that is self-harm and not self-love.
That's true. And like talking about the oats, whether they're cooked and like, condiments, sometimes people get caught up in, like, I know Dawn, she's doing so good this go round on like trying to stay on the raw diet by every now and then she has these, like, I think they're Blue Diamond or one of these type of nuts, but like, it's like, don't throw out the whole thing because you may have had a nut that you can't see, like get full verification that it's raw, like I think there's certain things you have to do along your journey to just help you get from that next moment. Like the important thing is, if you're trying to do this, you're already changing everything. Don't get caught up in the little mundane details that could deter you or make you feel bad. You remember you had some nuts. You didn't have, a big cheese pizza or something. So you have to watch the, keep the self-love there and don't let one small detail throw off the whole diet. If you can't seem to find something, that doesn't say raw on it. I know people run into that sometimes and then they'll just go back to eating the other way. So I think that's so important to keep the joy inside of it. And I've heard you mention it kind of makes you feel like a kid again when you're in this lifestyle. So lean into that.
You do. I also think so when I first went raw so I was like that with like sauces and nuts and seeds, especially when you first go raw. Do not be like, I can't have this, I can't have that. Unless, of course, you like stage 4 and you're really having to do something drastic, like it's life or death. But then I found part of my trauma response and healing was, if you eat a diet you've never had in your life, I've never eaten just raw foods. Like I've had cooked nuts here and there. I've had, some bought sauces and stuff. So there's memories in my brain. I feel like and I don't think it's just me. I think many people, if you eat just watermelon, your body's never known that. If you eat like me, I ate just pretty much fruit and tiny bit of greens for 4 years. My body's never had an experience of consciousness like that. If you start adding in a little bit of like even tamari, it has memory for that. I believe what a lot of us do, including myself, is go to this place, which is more enlightened, like we're talking about, but you have no memory of. So your trauma does not exist in this new reality. And that new reality was a really great and safe space for me to do a lot of healing. But then I ended up sick again because I wasn't getting everything my body needed.
Mm-hmm.
I cut off myself off from listening to what my body needed. So I totally believe that you should eat. There's a couple of things here. Eat as clean as you need to, but the more you start going up into different healing, it can help, like especially if you've got trauma. But I feel most happiest and most connected, like I'm back where I am now. Whereas, to be honest, if someone had dropped a few pistachios cooked on top of a salad, I'd pick most of them off, but if I ate one, it wouldn't really bother me. Like, whereas when I was in like my deep healing, which I think more was about living in a consciousness which did not have foods with memory for me because it was just too much, I would have had a flip out and left the restaurant, which I have walked out of restaurants and they put things on, which I don't want to be there. And that feeds back into that. If you're eating really like light raw vegan foods and yet you're judging everyone else, and I was talking about this in the live yesterday, is I was eating like, and I was like judging everyone, like they shouldn't be eating that. Mind my own business. Like, love me. I need to pull back onto me. Like, you want to basically find a diet where you feel good, but you can also live. You don't want to, like you don't want to be, as you're saying, is upset and confused over a salad. Like, how did we get to this point? You know, where the restaurant, I always suggest order the salad, order the dressing on the side, and bring your own dressing.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
yeah, I've been in situations like that too. Like I would literally like if I would visit like 10 stores and end up like in the very beginning of my second or third month like stressed out, and I'm like, wait, this is going the other way. What happened to that joy that this diet had in it? So now I'm like in such a rhythm with it that I'm able to, if I'm only supposed to have one avocado. If I want 2 or 3 avocados, I'm going for those avocados. I'm already eating raw food. So I get it, but that means my body might be trying to tell me that I'm deficient in this area or something in it. Like you can learn to trust your body instead of going by the textbook. And I love a lot of the like natural hygiene way of looking at things. Are we supposed to eat this? Does it taste good to you? If so, yes, as far as fruit, vegetables, nuts, and seeds go. And it's like sometimes we can get so caught in our head that a lot of that clarity that we're all striving to experience with that we found with raw food can for a little while get clouded, like I call it when we're like newborn raw foodies, right? It's like it's easy to be like, you're all supposed to be eating raw food, you're killing the food, and it's like, not that I went to that magnitude, but it's also important that we know now all the different layers of the journey. I've been into raw food, I went off of raw food, I went back in raw food, off raw food, and I feel like I'm finally at a point where I've learned so much. I've learned the way that I can have the wisdom to be in this lifestyle without going back and forth. So it really gets to a certain point where you, I think, find your way with it, but you have to allow yourself to get there and don't be hard on yourself.
100%. And can I say most of the skills I have as a raw vegan and a raw vegan coach come from getting sick, going down the wrong path, trying new foods, trying eating high greens, high fat, low fat, all fruit. Like, would I be good at what I do if I had just eaten the same way and forever been like, that's perfect, that's what everybody should be doing?
Yeah.
The experience and the reason like I can do this as well is because of the hell I went through beforehand. And I bring this up all the time, the value comes from our darkest times. We actually learn very little in the light. Like when we actually feel amazing or celebrated or awarded, we're actually reaping what we've sown. Whereas it's like that hard work or dark time was where the value comes from. And I always bring up Ed Sheeran says, when he had a lisp and had to start singing and doing music is when he learnt value. When he won a Grammy, he learnt nothing. He felt good, but he learnt nothing. Or he says, when he loses a business partner is where he has to pull out all the stops to learn something. And he, once again, any awards or any praise or albums released, it's not like he's learning. It's all that hard work that goes into things. So I think there's a lot of value in that. I was also going to say here, this is a good question. So Colleen said, do you suggest journaling when starting? Did you, if you kept on track, or what did you do? So I realized very quickly when I got well that this is my experience, I needed to sit in a space of love. And what can happen with journaling, and even when I was taking photographs of things, I wouldn't take photographs of like before and after things. Like, I don't know, everything was so positive when I was healing. There wasn't negative photos to be taken, but I realize now I was sitting in love. And a lot of people, if I journal to this day, I manifest and sit in love. So it's like, I'm thankful. I love this. This is amazing. I want to create this. And it perpetuates itself. It builds its own reality. If I sat in a space of journaling, yesterday sucked, I'm bad. This is even making me feel bad saying things. So that was not purposeful. And especially if you go back and read that, you're recreating a reality, a denser reality. Now, I'm not saying that this is wrong, but I learned the more I sit in love, the more my whole reality just created love. And I know people are like, you've got to process things. And yes, things come up. But when you're on a high raw diet, you're so present, you don't ruminate or reminisce too often. So there's no need to have a second consciousness in your head of processing old things all the time. But that's my experience. I know some people find it beneficial, but I noticed that for me, always, the more I feel good, sit in love, feel love, like talk love, see love, like it's all beautiful. And you can do that in journaling. I've done that. So that's probably my biggest suggestion, is because you're wanting to change your thought processes and your reality.
Yeah, I think that it is like what I do a lot of times that worked for me is I liked going back to that initial excitement. Like I would go back and watch that raw food documentary that I watched, like, and it brought me back to that moment when all of this was brand new, and it was really interesting. After, I never journaled like during it or anything, but I do have Facebook, so it's kind of like a journal because I was always documenting, like I was eating this, and like sometimes I'll see a memory pop up, and like, oh, that's right, that's when I was eating that type of salad, or when I was on off fruit, So you do have these memories, but I think it's important to revisit the why behind it often, and that always brings me back to that little excitement, like when I used to watch. When I first went raw, I think Don was asking what I eat. I eat pretty much the same thing all the time. I eat like big salads. I started out that way, so I think I always revert back to that, even if I'll try something different or maybe have sushi. But like what I usually do is like that, like even that first dressing that I had, way back when, like these little memories become nostalgic to you after a while. So sometimes if I'm feeling a little off track or something in certain periods, I will go back and watch that documentary, or I'll go back and watch some of the videos. I remember every night making my salad, I would go and put on a video about, like, I think it was like Fully Raw Christina, and different things, like, or I would watch like health benefits, and I started learning about nutrition a lot, and a lot of information that was just blowing my mind, of people that transformed their life, different people I'd find online. And I would just be making these big salads and cutting up fruit, and like hearing this in the background. It was like a whole experience that I can look back on now. So that's like the biggest advice I can have, whether you want to document it or not, or at least maybe it's a good idea to just keep it to to yourself, or you can do like a post on Facebook, something to keep that memory alive of those early days of raw. Because even though it's a little bit confusing, you're trying to figure out, it's also simpler when you have less information.
Yes, I agree with that. I love that. And very similar to what you're saying is like me, is I love there's the feeling when I reminisce on my like first Instagram posts, or I go and revisit that time, is so high vibe. So it depends, yeah, how you want to internalize that transformation of yours. When it comes to writing down foods, I think that can be really helpful. When I coach people, it's one of the things I say, and the one thing I say is, as well, is when you write it down, how do you feel when you're thinking about those foods? Like, because if you're making a banana smoothie every morning and you're dreading doing it, and you're dreading making it, and afterwards you're always like, I just feel so nauseous, that's your body telling you something. And if you've written that down, not just what you've had, but how you're feeling, it can be really helpful as well. Just say you're always doing that, yet you're craving beetroot. You're craving like, beetroot and watermelon juice, yet you're not honoring your body. So I definitely think writing down what you're eating can be really helpful, but don't always think that that's the blueprint forever either. Like it's like write it down, and because you're at different times in your life, and your body will one thing I've learned is my body at different times has done raw completely different ways. So
yeah, me too. I tend to like have like I need extra. Sometimes I'm in like fruit, I eat a lot more fruit. Other times I'm feeling like I'm eating, nuts and seeds more, or avocado. Sometimes it's like, and from day to day it can change. So I can't ever really say, like some days I am not hungry all day. Like today, all I've had is some watermelon smoothie, I guess it would be. I wanted to say juice, but I didn't juice it. But I just had it, sipping on it while I was working. And some days I'll really be hungry around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Some days I won't eat till 6 or dinner, depending. It's just so interesting to start to like stop doing it by the textbook and follow your body.
Yes, look, if I can bestow anything on anybody, the value and healing and love the universe showed me and the world showed me when I took my own path, like that I walked my own path, that there's this particular salad that I love, there's fruits that I love. I'd sit outside, even if it was just the grassy knoll at the front of the apartment block, or a chair out in the back of a car park, like those, like think about, like when I think about that. So like I was in, as I said, like this funny little apartment. There's no grass except for like the main road where you get like a strip out the front, and out the back is like a 6-car parking, what do you call it, car park. And there was an old broken chair, and I used to sit there and like on my shorts and my swimming costume were all like so old, and I'm sitting out there with this big salad bowl in the sun, and I'd been in the water, this is probably 3 or 4 weeks in, and I had this ritual before the sun went down, because it's still winter here, which isn't too cold, but still the sun goes down early, and I'd sit there, and I actually don't know whether I've been happier in my entire life than sitting in that 6-car park in this funny block with my salad in my old clothes. And I just, the gratitude, the love, I felt so connected to the universe. I loved my food. I was out of pain. And like, you'd think conditioned wise, like how we're taught is, being like rich and famous is like the ultimate goal, having a business that stresses you out. Whereas I just was grateful. I was so grateful to not be in pain and suffering.
Yes. Hey, Apple.
I saw Apple's dropped in. Hey, and she got lots of nice projects, which is amazing. So we're going to have to wind this up.
Yes, I know. I'm so sorry. I always want to chat forever, but I know you have another one, so I usually try to jump on there.
Yes, I'm about to go on and do my Friday like summary of the week. I'm actually going to talk on socializing as a raw vegan, and we already like went into that.
Tapped into it a little bit, right? That's awesome. I'll definitely be checking in the comments.
I clean out my fridge and make a recipe. So join me. I'm about to go live again. But yes, JJ, thank you. This was so much fun.
It was. Thank you, everybody in the comments for joining. I really appreciate you all being here and engaging with us. It's like we had a big conversation. So thank you, Skye.
Thank you. See you all soon. Bye.
Bye.